Go ahead and call this meeting to order. This is a regular meeting of the Board of Directors of the Vallecitos Water District for Wednesday, May 3rd, 2017. Could I ask Director Hernandez to lead us in the pledge, please?
Yes. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Director Evans?
Here.
Director Hernandez?
Here.
Director Martin?
Present.
Director Smallwood, we want to take it absent. Director Oliver?
Here. Okay, next is the adoption of the agenda for this meeting.
Move to approve.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve adopt the agenda for this regular meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Carries unanimously. Public comment. Persons wishing to address a matter not on the agenda may be heard at this time. However, no action will be taken until the matter is placed on a future agenda in accordance with board policy. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes. A request to speak form is required to be submitted to the executive secretary prior to the start of the meeting if possible. Public comment should start by stating name, address, and topic. The board is not permitted during this time to enter into a dialogue with the speaker. First request is Tanis Brown.
Hi, my name is Tanis Brown. I live at 1385 Maloney Street in San Marcos, but I'm here tonight to talk about the San Marcos Historical Society and Heritage Park, of which Vallecitos Water is a great partner. So a couple things are coming to a little bit of a close, and I wanted to let you know how much we appreciate your involvement with our hands-on history program that we do out at Heritage Park with the San Marcos Unified School District. You may not be aware of this, but Chris Robbins and Lisa Urabe come out on either one of them usually comes out on a Thursday morning and does a little presentation about water conservation to about 60 elementary students who are gathered there for our 2-hour program. So it just is a very wonderful opportunity for them to kind of get connected with students talking about what Vallecitos Water does, but then they actually go out into our playground and our yard area and actually get to see what a hand pump is and a windmill and an outhouse and all those things that used to happen in San Marcos, and how important it was and still is that we conserve water. So the other thing that we're very appreciative of is that Vallecitos Water helps to transport the students out to Heritage Park if they require busing. So that part of it is such an incredible gift to us because it really helps, especially those schools like Alvin Dunn that are farther out that may be a little bit of a financial burden in terms of getting those students with busing today. So we really appreciate not only that help, but also the personal commitment that your staff has made to get out there and actually interact with those students. So we really appreciate that. The other thing that brings me here tonight is I was reading in an e-newsletter on special districts that this is Water Awareness Month in May. And one of the other things that we do out at Heritage Park is we've really embraced sustainable landscaping, partly with our native garden in front of the Bidwell House. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, come out and I'll give you a personal tour, and so you'll know which house is which. But we do have a native garden in front of the Bidwell House. We also are doing sustainable landscaping and ongoing classes related to zero waste and all that. So I invite you to come out, but the thing I wanted to tell you is that there's a photo contest sponsored by the San Diego County Water Authority. So if anybody would like to come out and take photos at Heritage Park and submit that, it would put us all on the map if we won a prize. So, anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you, Janice.
Quick question, Janice.
Yes, I thought we weren't supposed to have a dialogue.
That's true.
But,
Is there any movement or thought about moving the Merriam House over to your site?
oh, you mean La Mesita? We have had that conversation in the past. The thing that is most likely to come out to Heritage Park is the old Richland School. We have paperwork that says they want that school out at Heritage Park. So I don't think we have, and really the Terry organization approached us a couple of years ago and has not really made any effort since then. But, yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Mr. Hunsaker.
Mike Hunsaker, 115 Equestrian Court. I noticed in the capital improvements projects a list for sodium hypochlorite used in place of chlorine for cleaning out any bacteria or other nasties. And the justification was that there might be an accident with chlorine and this would be safer. But I haven't heard of any chlorine accidents in any water district at all. But I have looked into the question of what the introduction of more sodium into water would have. And it turns out there is a sensitive part of our population that is sensitive to the introduction of sodium. And that is those people who have heart conditions requiring a low sodium diet. And it involves people with diabetes. So it seems we're trading a small and virtually non-existent danger for directly affecting the health of our most sensitive part of our population. I also noticed in the capital improvement program a notation about new chlorine contact tanks. So who is going to get more sodium in their water? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, on to the consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar will be voted upon by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a board member or member of the public requests that a particular item be removed from the consent calendar, in which case it will be considered separately under action items.
So moved. Is there a, do you want to pull the minutes?
Yeah, it's been moved and seconded to approve the consent calendar. We have one correction to the minutes for the Finance Committee meeting of April 17th, and I think that's been passed out to everybody up here. So if that's okay with everybody, we'll go with the minutes as amended. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Carries unanimously. Okay, action items. 2.1, 2017 cost of service and rate structure study draft update.
All right, this is just the next in a series of updates on the cost of service study, and Mr. Scaglione will walk you through it.
Yes, you have in your board packet the latest version of the cost of service study. As the staff report mentions, there's only two significant changes since the last version. We had in this version, we finally had a rate proposal from San Diego County Water Authority for their commodity rates. So it includes an updated revision for the commodity rates. Still don't have San Diego County Water Authority's fixed water charges, and if we get those in time, we'll make another revision to it. If it's very late when we get them, and if it's close, we're just going to go with what's in there. The other revision was we included a couple of pages for a law and guidance review as well. So you'll see that in there too. And like I said, it's preliminary, and especially the next topic that we'll talk about too. It's preliminary rates, and they're changing as we revise and refine the budget to get the proposed budget ready for you. So that's all I want to do, is just present to you in the packet, and be glad to entertain any questions. Pretty much the format's the same. The one correction that I did put in was we did have a review by a rate consultant, and one of the things I messed up on was that Rancho, California is in Riverside County, not Orange County. So I changed that in the report to reflect the right.
All these years I've been driving to the wrong place.
How about that? And some of the other things that may. Oh.
I have one question. I know staff has put in an insurmountable amount of time on this, and I'm just noticing that what I see in those preliminary, the rate's a lot lower than the last time I saw something like this 9 or 10 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to figure out what caused the rates to go down so much.
Yeah.
I remember correctly, it was 8.9%, and those were fairly large percentages.
Isn't that the next item?
Yeah, 8.9 might have. Are you talking about last year's rates?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. That was
The ones that we didn't do.
Yeah. We're doing a lot of smoothing on this one too. So what you see in the rate model is different than the rate study, because by the time we'll smooth things before we actually propose rates, because that was the direction of the board, to no spikes, and so we're looking at a longer horizon to try to smooth as much as we can. So. That's all I had. Oh, the other thing I just wanted to mention too, we got review comments back from one of the rate consultants, and everything, there's nothing substantive that will change. We did have to look into some things to address the comments, but because of some of the questions, we might want, and I had to answer the questions, I may want to word the document a little bit, so he shouldn't have had to ask those questions. It should have been in the document. So you may see, you will see a revision next time we meet on rates to the cost of service study. It's an evolving thing. So that's all I had for you, on that item, unless there's any questions.
No question.
Chimed in for item 1.3.
Oh, okay, yeah, you're right. Okay, that's my fault. I didn't see that. Mr. Hunsaker wanted to speak on consent calendar item 1.3.
For the next couple of weeks, I don't have much vision, but I wanted to check on the water connections, because if I remember, I read correctly, there's an 8-inch water pipe and an 8-inch wastewater pipe that is part of that development. Is the water to supply water to this development? If it's an 8-inch pipe, seems like it should be an 8-inch valve and meter going to that area. Thank you.
Okay, maybe you can get with staff and they can explain.
Thank you, President Althorpe. The 8-inch is an 8-inch public water main. It feeds water not only to this development, they have multiple meters that are more in the size of 1 inch, 1.5 inch, but it also connects the system, loops it, so this way, if there was a shutdown in line, we wouldn't have to put all 400 units on water. So the 8-inch line connects to 2 existing water lines and loops our system together.
Thank you. All right, item 2.2, 2017 public rate hearing notice draft.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. Just wanted to give as preliminary as possible, as soon as possible, rates. So these are preliminary rates, and a lot of times you say they may change, they will change. We're already refining the budget and seeing changes that we have to make, but we'll keep you posted as it evolves, so you can get the latest. Where's my down page? For today, what I would like to do is present a draft rate hearing notice. The main purpose is to get input and direction from the board on some options that we have. First of all, options, do we want to include pump charges or not? We'll talk about that. I'll present options for the presentation of the effective dates, and then a third option would be the actual change the effective dates to January 1, so they're all effective at the same time. That's another option. We've got preliminary reserve projections, so we'll take a look at those and some financial performance indicators. And then, like I said, get direction so we can walk away today with what you want in the actual notice.
Tom, excuse me, I think we're having a little technical difficulty, and Diane's
Oh.
trying to help us get the projected up here.
It's, okay,
Tom, are you waiting for your screen?
yes.
I just had a real quick question, and on the first part of the background on this and the discussion, we showed the scenario that we're smoothing the RTS charge over the first two effective dates. When we say smoothing, what does that mean exactly to you?
Yeah, it's smoothing would be if it's up 6.3% one year and then down 3.8 the next, and then back up 4%, kind of take an average of that, we give up a little bit in one year, make it up in the next, and then make the rate 5% each year, or 5.2 or 6%. So it's not peaks and valleys in the rate.
So you have here that if we weren't smoothing, the first year increase could be as high as 12.3 or 14.7. So that's how we're managing to smooth
Yeah,
it out.
instead of
It's
getting that
just-
first spike in the first year,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll eat up reserves a little bit and make it up in the next.
Okay,
You know.
just wanted to make sure I was understanding smoothing. We've used it in many of our discussions and balancing it out. All right,
I'm
thank you.
sorry, I missed something. Did you say 14% somewhere?
On
Where?
page 88, if you look under the discussion on background, it just says that by smoothing it, proposed rates, if we didn't, could jump as much as 12.3 under some of the options and 14.7 under a different option. But what they're saying is we've managed to smooth it out, and by give a little here and take a little there, we've managed, so no one's getting hit with that huge spike.
Thank you.
Sorry to bring up.
That was the big component was the ready to serve. I think that's what you were referring to. And looking at the components, that was a big increase. So we tried to, particularly the ready to serve charge, to smooth that.
Well, looking at what you've done so far. Good.
Okay, so what I have up is just taking a rate hearing notice a chunk at a time. So starting at the top, what you have on your screen now is the introduction to the rate notice, and we have an option to either include or exclude pumping charges. By including a pumping surcharge, of being very transparent and putting it out there, on a disadvantage of it is it's a little confusing because only about 12% of our customers are subject to. It's not required by Proposition 218 to be in there. So on the positive side, it's transparent. These are all of our charges, but it might be confusing to customers. Right now, all the charges, 95% of all of our customers are subject to these charges. We have some sewer-only customers, some water-only customers, but 95 to 98% of all of our customers are subject to those. So what I'm looking for from the board is direction on, should we include pump zone surcharges, a table, of when they're effective in here, and we'll try to caveat it and say these are only applicable to those being served by pump zones.
First of all, historically, have we ever included pump
We
zone
have.
charges on the 218?
We have in the past, and that's why I'm saying it's a little confusing, because there was some, if I recall, some public speakers.
In the
that had some
recent history,
confusion.
we have been doing that?
The last one we did not.
The last one we did not.
Maybe the last one or two we didn't, but before we used to include them.
So it was included, and did we get people calling on that?
I think if I recall, we had a comment, and that's why I remember the confusion of a customer, thinking it was a new charge.
Well, just going through it, we did have confusion even with that. And my second question would be, if we didn't include it in the 218 for the entire people, those who are in a pump zone and the charges are changing, I know they've been notified, but they would be also notified separately to tell them it's happening, is that correct?
Well, just from what we, with the workshop that we already had,
Right.
and then, and May 17th, we'll be coming back with the actual ordinance.
That's what I
So-
mean, they'll know though.
They'll have constructive receipt from the, we have to post the ordinance in the newspaper 5 days before, a summary of it, but, that's it.
But it was not our plan to go out and do another mailing to tell people about the 17th.
No, I
just to be
understood
clear.
that. I just want to make sure for transparency purposes and that we have made it, that it's out there, and then particularly the people who are affected in the pump zone. I realize it's a small percentage. I don't really have an opinion on which way we should go. I'm just asking questions at the moment.
Director Murray.
Yeah, my question would be, the 218 process, there's enough that has to go in there that most people don't understand anyhow, is why log on extra burden of pump charges that the vast majority of our customers have nothing to do with them. So we're gonna be confusing them. My recommendation would be to send out to the pump zone people that we're charging exactly what we decided to do, let them know this is what we decided to do, feather it in, whatever it was, in a nice letter, not including the 218, so we're not confusing 90% of our customers. It would just make more sense, a small price to pay for getting it done right, in my opinion.
I would agree.
I'm in agreement with that, too.
Okay, so would that mean, as Mr. Scaglione mentioned, we're proposing to bring that item back on May 17th. You want us to notify those pump zone customers in advance of that May 17th meeting
Or after it.
or after it?
When does it go into effect? June, July? I can't remember.
July 1?
July 1.
July 1.
Well, we've already approved it.
Yeah, in concept, you've approved it, it has to come
Yeah,
back, and
it's
the
coming
date,
back as an
the date we
ordinance.
picked, it was May 17th for the board to take a formal action.
Okay. So, yeah, we definitely want to have all 5 members of the board here, so whenever that is, yeah.
And then after that, the letter going out. Because I don't think we have enough time, personally, to do the letter prior to the 17th. And I don't think we want to hold off on the ordinance, because then that's going to be too tight for it to be in place in July.
Right, it'd be in place a month later. Right. I think we should notify people before we do it, not after. By the way, here's your notification.
Oh,
If in case you didn't notice, your bill went up last month.
We told them we're doing it.
Yeah, and the bill isn't going to go up until July.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's why there's 5 of us up here.
Yeah. But I do agree we should send the letter out, but after the ordinance is in place.
just reaffirming that,
Just, yeah.
what we had.
The people that are going to be affected, that are interested, will be here, I'm sure, in voicing their opinion just prior to that.
Would they be getting that prior to the 218 notice?
Yeah, the 218 notice was, this is very early to be presenting this to you. What the goal is on June 7th, that first meeting in June, to have it ready to go, and you would approve the mailing of the notice then, and then it would go out, and the hearing would be, we're shooting for August 2nd for the hearing.
So then give me the dates, seeing as you're very date-oriented, give me the date you'll be mailing out to the 2,200 customers their information.
Shortly after June 7th, so whatever it takes to probably June 10th, 12th, by the time we process the 218 notices, and then they go out, they have to go out 45 days before the actual hearing date.
I don't think that's what you asked.
No, it's a different, yeah.
Pump zone.
Oh, I'm
Pump
sorry,
zone.
I'm sorry, you're talking about the pump
How
zone?
soon is that gonna go out?
Uh,
How soon can-
Whenever the board wants
It's
to.
really up to the board when you want them to go out.
Tomorrow?
Immediately following the May.
Yeah, we
May
couldn't, obviously we
17th.
couldn't do it
Sure.
tomorrow, but yeah, takes
What's
about,
a realistic?
So I would say the most critical question is, do you want it to go to the customers before the May 17th meeting or after? And then once you give us that direction, we can figure out an exact date. If the decision is inform the people after the May 17th meeting, then it can go out the next day or the day after that.
Fine with me.
Okay, let's do that.
Which date would you pick? After May 17th?
After May 17th, as soon as possible thereafter.
And we have to try to write the letter explicitly as possible, because then they're gonna be hitting with a 218 on top of
Right.
those 2,200 people. gonna be separate and above what you're about to get.
Did we make a decision on the in or out of the notice on the pump charges?
The direction was out.
Out.
Out on
Very
it.
good.
Yeah.
I agree. All right.
Okay. The next one, I'm just kind of going down the notice itself and taking chunks of it out there, is the very first page. You know, we show the impact, and this is very much like the last 218 notice, but we show the impact. Now, I'll show you three options of what to do. This is traditionally what we would do. And this is showing the average single-family resident impact, the impact of the average single-family resident using 13 units of water, what their current total combined bill is, and the first increase would be effective September 1, the month after the hearing and the month after the ordinances are adopted. That's what we'd be shooting for. So the first one, you see that impact. And then the next one, we show an annual impact in July 18th. That includes both the commodity that becomes effective January 1 and the ready-to-serve and sewer that become effective July 1. That's the July 2018 column. And then the July 2019 column shows the impact of the commodity rate on January 1 and the ready-to-serve and sewer on July 1, 2019. So that's one option, and that's how we kind of did it traditionally. And I'll show the next option. Next option are the same effective dates, but instead of lumping, you know, the two together, ready-to-serve and commodity, this one shows when each rate becomes effective, what the impact is. So the first effective date is September 1, that's ready-to-serve and sewer. The next effective date is January 1, 2018, so that's the impact from just commodity, because that's the only thing that increased then. And then July 2018 is the impact from ready-to-serve. And then January 19 is the impact from the January 1, 19 commodity increase. And then July 2019 is the last that we were recommending. Yes.
And this is what's going to be sent, one of these options is going to be sent within the letter.
That's what we're proposing, and that's what I'm looking for
Well,
direction.
Where I got
for, too.
confused is September, the total water and sewer bill is $120.93. And then in January, you said we've added the commodity, but it doesn't say anything about that. It just says the bill's going up on January to $122.94.
Yeah, it's in the footnote at the bottom. The effective dates.
Average family, is that the footnote you're talking
No, I
about?
mean below that, changes in ready-to-serve and sewer charges are effective September 1, 2017, and then subsequent on July 1st. And then changes to the tiered rate structure and water commodity are effective
Okay,
January 1.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's actually going to be in the letter.
Correct,
This
yeah,
doc-
this is what it would look like, except for the word option wouldn't be there.
Yeah.
If you pick that one.
Okay.
So the important thing to notice is that if you compare options 1 and 2, and you look at the information for September, July, and July, it's the same information. It just, the option 1 does not
Right.
include what would happen in the Januaries of those 2 years.
Option 1 is annual impact, and then option 2 is splitting it out every time that something becomes effective.
Okay.
And then option 3 is what Director Althorpe had suggested, was why don't we make all the effective dates the same date? So here, we're saying commodity, ready-to-serve, and sewer are all effective on January 1. And it's, you know, we didn't change the rate study. All we did was for ready-to-serve, we averaged the 2 years. Averaged the 2 fiscal years that straddle the calendar year.
Now, on the last option, well, I guess not all of them, the July of 19, how confident are we that that's actually going to be the number?
These are just preliminary numbers.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
whatever number goes in there, how confident are we going to be that come May of 2019, we're back here again going, you know, things have gone up, things have gone down, we're going to have to change the ultimate 4% to some other number, that we're going to have to do this all over again.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Well, it's
The
okay
biggest
if
variable.
it goes down.
Yeah.
Yeah, we wouldn't, if it goes
Oh,
down, we
good.
wouldn't
Well,
be
then
here.
we'll be
Yeah.
celebrating. I haven't seen it do that yet, so
Doesn't happen to
I was trying to be polite. So,
The biggest wild card is the wholesale rates, because,
Right.
you know, 90% of, you know, that, especially that tier 1, over 90% is the wholesale rate of water. What we have from them already is the commodity, so we have a big chunk already, at least what they're proposing, and that will likely be from the Water Authority. We don't have the fixed rates yet, so these are the variables that could impact, like you said, and all of a sudden we have something higher. They have not ever in the past. There's always been small enough where we'd absorb it
Okay.
and go to the next, but that is a variable, and they don't tell us, even an estimate of what 2019 will be. They only give us 1 year at a time, so it's really hard to
That's the water.
guess. Water Authority, yeah.
That was my question, is how far out do they go?
They don't, they just do 1 year.
But
And
we have not seen them do something such that it would affect this thing in 2019. Is that what I heard you say?
They have in the past, but we were able to absorb it without
Okay,
coming
that-
back to
and
the
so
board.
That would be what we would anticipate doing in July of 2019. If it should change
Yeah.
on the upside, we just
Yeah,
suck it
absolutely.
up.
When we go through the budget process, probably
Yeah.
at that time, we'll take a look, and if it's something that we feel we can absorb, we may come back with the
Mhm.
recommendation to go back out. But that's pretty rare.
Tom, maybe you can, so we may not know the numbers from the Water Authority, but you do include an assumption
Oh, yes.
of what those would be. So it's not,
Yeah.
we're not including zero
Mhm.
increases for the Water Authority, we're making a guess. Similar to what we did on the pump zone rates with SDG&E Power for the second year, we didn't know, but we took a good guess.
My opinion is 25 years ago, when I was married, had my first house in San Marcos, was all excited, and this water sheet of facts came to me. And I looked at it, looked at both sides of it, actually 4 sides of it, and gave it to my wife, who was an accountant, and she gave it back to me, and we threw it away. Had no idea what it meant, except the prices were probably going up. So I think, and I'm John Q. Public, I think the third option, which is our renowned president's option, is very clear, very concise. Once a year, your water bill goes up, and here's 2 years of when it's going up. 2018 is going to be this, 2019 is going to be that. And the only thing I would add to that is under the using 15 units of water, in parentheses, in bold letters, how many gallons that is, because nobody knows what a unit is. Nobody's ever going to know what a unit is. So put the gallons in so people understand, because then they go, wow, that's a lot. I don't use that much water. They do, but they don't realize it. But I think the third one stands out as less than 5% for 2 years. That's pretty darn good, I think, for, especially compared to the one that I remember, and I'm sure I'm wrong, that I saw here 8 or 9 months ago. This has been a huge improvement to it. So thank you very much, and that's my 2 cents.
I would agree as well. I'm delighted, quite frankly, to see these numbers, because I was fearful that it was going to be in the 5 and the plus side, but I know we've worked hard, and I commend staff all the way, and I was thinking about this during the week. You know, this budget, and I commend the financial committee as well, because you've really, really delved into this, and you probably don't deserve it, but I know that.
We stirred it behind the scenes.
Yeah, good. But I know that this budget isn't just the general manager and the financial committee going, yeah, this is all the way down through the ranks to all the individuals to add to this budget. So I commend all of the district and all the personnel for really going to the nth degree to keep our costs down and not be one of some of the other districts that are just being, 10% add increases. That's obscene. So I agree with Director Martin. I think option 3 tells the whole story. I do like it going to one time, and the numbers are, if we can stay in these numbers or less, we've done a grand job.
I like option 3 too, because I think we all appreciate knowing where we're going and when it's coming and what to expect. I also like option 3 for the fact that we are holding where we are until January, whereas in the other options, we were in September, right away, we're being hit. And then whether it's a little bit 5 times or one at 4.5, I think that, I realize that can change with the actual amounts coming, the actual numbers, but I really appreciate that. And then I do believe, as both the other directors said, I'm sorry there isn't an audience here, and there hadn't even been more during our process, because staff and you have, in the committee, have done an amazing job of going through it detailed and offering so many options. And I really believe this is a very realistic one. As Director Hernandez said, well, the last right time, boy, we were trying to be nice and ended up really biting us in the back, and we don't want to get caught in that. So I appreciate that we're trying to get ourselves back and on the right track and begin to move forward in a very fiscally sound, prudent manner, and back to our policy of trying to keep our rates down, but not give up our service and our quality. So I feel you've done a really good job, and I think 3 is clean and precise, as Director Martin said. It makes it pretty easy.
Very good. I was not going to change your mind, are you?
No. Hearing that, I can't change my mind. But my only concern, and we've talked about this going through these rate studies, not just the impact to an average single family or whatever customer type, as far as an average bill, but what the impact is on high water users. And maybe just pose this as a question: would it be beneficial? Maybe ask the rest of my board members: would it be beneficial to have another example of a different customer class or a high water user or something like that? I don't want to complicate the notice, but we got tripped up on this issue a year ago as far as impacts to particular classes, and meter sizes, and amounts of water. So.
May I think that's a really interesting option, and I believe I was reading somewhere, I'm not going to remember where you kind of showed what high user, meter user, maximum and minimum.
The rate study.
I think the hardest part about that is it's very confusing, and if you don't catch every little detail, you're blown away by it. So you go, oh, wait, this is maximum, or this is the minimum. But I would like, maybe there's a simple way of doing a sample, maybe even on the internet, where they could just say, if you're in the low tier only, this is where you would be. If you're in the middle, this is where you would be. If you were the high. And I also wanted to say, in reading it, in the cost of service, I meant to say this earlier, I really appreciate that we expanded the lower tier, and we added 3 extra units to the middle tier, and then I was just checking out, and then only go to 3 tiers, but the difference in how those rates go up, 78 cents, and then $1 something, and then $3. It's really well done for conservation without being unfair to anybody. I'm so impressed with what all you did in your research. And Black and Beach, was that who it was? Cost of
Were you
service.
gonna
No,
say-
you did the cost of service.
Yeah.
Were you going to say something about there is an example on the internet?
Well,
on
yeah,
our
what we
webpage?
can do is have on the notice a link, visit boom and what website link for just that, because we do have an analysis in the cost of service
That might be
study.
better than
Yeah.
using things
Yeah,
with
I
more
think so.
examples.
Okay.
Yeah, that was gonna be my recommendation. It'd be too much information to put in the 2 to 18 notice, but if we can have a link and people, maybe kind of a rate calculator, either a static thing, where people could find theirs, or
Yeah.
if they can put in their own information.
I like the rate.
Director Martin.
Over the last couple of years, I've brought in, I don't know where they went to, I brought in some 218 notices sent out by other districts in the state of California that were much more simplistic than ours. And maybe I'll get some more at Aqua, if so, to pass them through, to see if we
Okay.
can make it simple. But one of the first things, now, why do you want to take themselves back before they got involved in water? And the first question that comes to mind, the average single-family resident bill assumes a 5/8 meter using 13 units of water per month. There's 2 things on that I don't know. I don't know what size meter I have.
Okay.
And you wouldn't have unless you're in the water business, nobody does. And I don't know how big the unit is.
Yeah, I believe it's on there. So the first, answer to your first question, it is on the bill. So when you get your bill, it has your meter size on there, as well as your specific
So
consumption.
you could look it up.
You could look it up.
It's on the bill.
But the other part, I think what you're asking is, what is a unit of water? How much do I
We have that on
use?
our accounts too, don't we?
Yeah, it tells
It's
you
on
in
our
your bill
bill.
how
Tells
much you
us
consume.
exactly.
It doesn't tell you.
Yeah, but we'll add it to this one.
That's why
I think the-
try to keep the notice as basic as possible.
Right.
We get calls because people don't understand.
Yeah.
The last one we had, the people that showed up were from a mobile home park. They didn't understand we have nothing to do with their billing.
It's always a tough balance between trying to keep it simple and giving
Yeah,
you
and
good,
giving
clear
it-
information.
But I do like adding the gallon, I just did that, and I was surprised how, it's about 3,508 gallons of water. You know,
How much?
that's a pretty good chunk of water,
A lot
but,
of water.
yeah.
What is
15
that? What-
15
just
times,
out of
15, is it made for 35,000?
What does that equal as far as Olympic pool?
15, yeah, 15 times 250,
Dumb it
right?
down so
I
people
rounded up.
see.
Yeah.
It's 740.
Oh,
148
750, well,
gallons
no
per-
wonder, for God's sake. Yeah, 750. Oh, that's 11,000?
Yeah, that sounds
Yeah,
more
that's
like
a
it,
little
yeah.
bit more water. Sorry. But, like living under my fantasy, it's easier.
Okay, so option 3 it is. The next draft you'll see, we'll just have that one. And
But
just,
but because we've been so nice, if those numbers climb, it could change.
okay,
Just thought I'd pre-warn you of that,
That's-
Tom.
appreciate that, yeah. Like I said, they will change, but we're trying to keep them as close to that as possible.
You'll keep it down.
The next section, just going down, it's still at first page, just some more information. Some of this is required by 218, what we have to disclose, reasons for the increase and stuff like that. So, just for your information, and if you're all right with that, we'll
I
continue to the
think
next step.
that page that you have, why are the rate increases necessary? That's awesome.
Okay, very good.
Great page,
We'll
that
keep
should
that.
be in the 218.
We don't need the rest of this. The
No.
preliminary
I'm
estimates.
gonna go down and just go over it, and, so that was the first page. On to the second page of the actual tables of the 218, just to show you what they'll be. So you actually have to show what the rates are. We were just showing an average single family on page 1 for the impact, but this would be, similar to what you would see. This would have been options 1 and 2, so that's not relevant. This is what you will see for ready-to-serve table, something like this.
And this goes out with the 218, this
Correct.
document?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because you have to give notice to all the customers, not just the
Right, right.
5/8 inch
Mhm,
customers.
okay.
Yeah, so it's a 4-pager. It's a 4-pager. You looked at the first page.
Yeah.
The next 2 pages are tables, and then the 4th page is what folds up and has the address and
Okay.
information.
As much as I don't want to add anything to it, it might behoove us to add a column after it saying, this applies to, for instance, the 5/8, 20,000 customers. The 10-inch applies to 6 customers, or whatever it is. So that people understand, I don't know, just a thought, somehow to make it, they know they're not a 10-inch customer. You know what I'm saying? It's like, well, how come? Well, they're much bigger customers. I don't know.
Well,
Just a thought.
if we really want to do that, we could put that under metered slides / number of customers, and it could be right beside 5/8 recorded.
Yeah,
I mean,
just a
how many
thought.
10-inch meters do we have in the district?
1?
One.
Yeah.
Who is that for,
So why
Doug?
don't we put it on there?
We have to by 218 put it
Yeah,
on
we
there.
have to put it on.
But I don't know, I mean, I know what we're trying to do here, but I just think it's one more number that adds kind of to the confusion.
Right.
Somehow they'll figure out what their meter size is, and somehow they'll figure out from their bills how many units they
Those
normally
people
use.
with very big meters know who
They
Yeah,
know.
they know,
Yes.
they know their meter size.
And, yeah, and I wouldn't want to be trying to guess who is the one.
I want his name there.
But
And with a
those-
big thank you.
But those people with 4-inch, 6-inch, and 10-inch meters aren't changing. Their pricing isn't going up.
No, yeah.
They're staying the same.
Mhm.
Who's getting rid without paying a rate increase? Just the other side of the coin. If I'm a big user, I'm not paying an increase.
Yeah, those,
Cost of service determined that they were already paying enough.
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
there was actually a decrease, but we stabilized that, so it wasn't decreasing it and then increasing it the next year. So it was more, originally we used to do the whole ready-to-serve charges based on the gallons per minute capacity of each meter, but what that did not take into account is a lot of costs that go into that are the same cost no matter what size your meter is, like billing, reading, and stuff like that. That's why the bigger meters came down, and the smaller meters came up. Okay, and then the next thing that would show is the water commodity rates, and that's what you see here. And these were smooth as well. So we brought them down in 2018, and then by 5 cents on tiers 1 and 2, and then up by 5 cents in tiers 1 and 2 for 2019.
This is excellent.
Yeah.
I don't mind paying this.
Now, this is the breakdown, and this is why you see the more favorable rates. We smoothed, like I said, the water for the first 3 years, smooth that out. And then sewer was and we'll show the reserve graph in a minute to see why sewer didn't increase until 2021. Obviously, we're showing a 5-year projection because we do 5 years for planning purposes, but we're only, recommending the ones you saw in the 218 for the effective dates, 2 years. So this is just a layout of the components of your water and sewer bill, but broken up by water and sewer. And then these are just wanted to give you our preliminary reserve projection. It's already changed since I put this together yesterday. But anyway, so what you see here, that top line is the ceiling under the policy. The bottom line is the floor. And then the blue line in the middle is where we're projecting to be given those rate assumptions that we have now and given the assumption of the budget, the preliminary budget that we've been going through. So we end up at about 60, if you look here, it's about 61% tile is where we end up at the end with those rates at the bottom. And then when we go to sewer, we end up at the same point. And so that's why I couldn't arbitrarily raise sewer. 218 applies to sewer too. I couldn't say, well, bring the water rate down and raise the sewer. No, we wanted to end up at about the same point in the reserve policy. So that's what we ended up doing. And then these were important for, you'll see most likely in the proposed budget, a proposal to go out for debt in 2008, the second year, 2019. In 2019, about 13.4 million in debt. And we do need to be sure we have our coverage up, our debt service coverage. And these rates that you saw, I didn't go out to 5 years to smooth. I smoothed what I could to the extent I could to still maintain our targets for debt service coverage. And that's what you see at the very bottom. We're not dropping below our targets. And days in cash.
What's the reason for that, for the debt?
What's the reason for it? The deficits in the capacity funds to try to avert further deficits in that fund. So we're going to do inducement resolutions to reimburse. So even if we don't go out to debt right away, if we can push it out more, we'll be able to reimburse ourselves for when we do go out for debt.
So I'm reading this, and we have twice as much revenue as we have debt. Is that what I'm reading? Because we're above the two?
Yes, that's right. What we have between property taxes, between what we transfer from operations and cap fees, the cap fees that we're getting in, which we're estimating a little bit higher than the recession. They're coming in a little bit. So that's what that means. And I'll show you the next slide.
Before you do, though.
Oh, no, it's all in this slide.
And we have the AAA rating or
AA plus.
AA plus.
Mm-hmm.
The AA plus, if we went out for a bond issue, that gives us a better percentage that we're going to pay. Is the percentage goes down as our debt service ability goes up?
Correct.
Or
Yeah, if we have a
is there a point
AAA.
at which we're just saving too much money?
Yeah, there's always, I'm not going to make an excuse for not being AAA, but I always like to AA plus, because that AA plus, you're not setting rates so high that you're just going after that rating. It's kind of like an insurance policy to your ratepayers to say, we're not going crazy just trying to get a AAA rating. AA plus, yeah, you could save a little money with a AAA when you go out and finance, but AA plus is a very strong, in fact, that's what it's called. It's a very strong capacity to meet your debt obligations. That's what that rating means.
And if it was lower, would that mean we could take some extra monies and put them somewhere? Or is that just
If
happen to be a miracle?
if what was lower?
Well, if our instead of just over 2, if it was 1.5, and our rating went to just AA. I mean, I don't think our ratepayers would know the difference between AA plus and AA. We're still very good. And if we went out for a loan, I don't know if we're talking a couple of points, a couple of, what's a hundredth of a
Yeah,
point,
that's right, yeah.
whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
But the bottom line question is, if it went down, would we have extra dollars to do something else with? That's what I'm trying to find out.
Yes, but there's other consequences. It's not just the interest savings because you have a good rating. The other one is we have a covenant to maintain a certain debt service coverage. And if we get, you know, the covenant is 115. If we ever lose capacity fees for some reason, the moratorium or something goes down and we don't meet that covenant, that's really, really bad.
Well, 115, my goodness, that's a long ways from 2. 1.15?
Well,
Right.
yeah, you'd be surprised how sensitive it is.
It is
If
real.
I, you know, yeah. And you can
Well,
see
then-
by pulling out the property tax, that's what that is. By pulling out the property tax and the cap fees, that's where we're at, right at the 1.15.
Oh,
That's the gray line.
So it's sensitive. That's why people usually, like the Water Authority, I think, has a 2.0 goal, you know, so that's why the goals are high because of the volatility, not only in water sales, but in the ERAF, when they take your property tax away.
Mhm.
It happens every 10 years. And then capacity fees are very volatile
and are we talking a great deal of money or a little bit of money?
for
For whatever fluctuation is, millions of dollars per tenth of a point?
If, in other words, the cap fees are, I think, little less than 5 million, and the property tax is 2 million, so, yeah, if a 7 million swing like that, and you're violating your covenant,
Okay,
yeah. And it sounds like a lot of money, but if
yeah.
there's a moratorium, or for some reason we're not collecting cap fees, and if the governor comes and grabs our property tax, we're there.
Well, we're just gonna revolt. All right, thank you, that's what I wanted to find out.
And I know the days in cash available. So is the 300, just over 300, is that put us in a solid place? Are we on the edge of a fence?
It
or-
depends on which rating agency you ask.
Okay,
Fitch had a median last time of like 435, and we were down lower than this before, and that was a little scary. But then S&P said, "Oh yeah, you got a good cash position," and we're like, "Well, Fitch just told us we're below the median." So it kind of depends on the market where you're at now. I'm comfortable with that. It's not where I'd kind of like to be higher because the median, like I said, the last one from Fitch was 435. We just had a surveillance. We'll get the results. A surveillance is when the rating agencies check in. They're supposed to check in at least once every 2 years. For the AAAs, AA plus, they check in once every 2 years. For the single A's and lower, they check in much more frequently and do a much more thorough check-in. This one they just did over the phone with us, and I'm sorry, I'm stealing the general manager's thunder. I think you were going to talk about it in your report.
That's right.
But I had him on the phone, and he didn't even mention it. He still said we're in a strong position. So Fitch right now is okay with my projection that we
Okay.
had for that.
Well, that makes me feel good that you're comfortable.
Yeah, it's below the
I'm sure
median.
you'll tell us if we blow
Yeah,
it.
it's below the median, but it's not just one thing below the median. If you can explain it or have a plan like we do now to stabilize it, and that's what we're showing, that we're stabilizing it, that looks very favorable
Okay.
to them.
Any questions?
Yeah, and the last thing was just the rate breakdown for the option 3 between ready-to-serve commodity and sewer.
Just as a reminder, the previous pages showed 5 years of rate increases. We're not looking for approval for 5 years of rate
No.
increases.
Yeah,
We're
same
just
thing
trying
with
to
this
look a
one.
little
It's
beyond.
looking out a little further, but it's just, we always do that for planning purposes, look out as far as we can.
So can you tell me on this,
Mm-hmm.
what exactly are the pages that will go out in the 218?
Sure. So this is a third of page 1. I kind of broke it up so you can see. So this slide that you're seeing,
Page 3, okay,
Yeah.
find that.
this slide,
Page, option 3, okay.
yeah,
Page 6.
and then that slide. Those 3 slides make up page 1.
Okay,
At the bottom of page 1 is why are rates increasing.
okay.
And then there's 1 page of tables, so you'd see this ready to serve,
Page 9,
yes, 9, and then 10, and then unfortunately, page 3, you have to go back to your your board packet. I didn't put that one in because that was just words.
Oh, Page 3 in the board packs.
No, well, page 3 of the notice is presented on, oh, I'm sorry. Wait, is that on my
Page
glasses?
90?
I don't have them numbered here. Here we go. Oh, no, that's not it.
92.
Yeah, okay.
90,
So, yeah, we
91.
went over page 90, and page 91 is just
In the
options.
packet, and-
Page 92 is the page I didn't present on here.
Oh.
But I
What
mean, it
we're
is,
doing control cost.
I'm glad you brought that up, probably should have put it on here, just to see if everybody's okay with the verbiage on that page. But a lot of that is required by 218, to put that information on there. But that's the one page I didn't go over, on page 92 of your board packet. So that's another page that you would see on a 218 notice.
Okay, and then my only,
In fact, that's the second page, the tables would be on the third page.
my only question is, when this goes out, and I open this, when it says water commodity and ready to serve, is there a definition of what those are paying for?
I
Or are
remember
they
we,
not necessary? Because I know I've read them, but now I can't remember what was in the would be in the 218.
yeah, we used to have them in there, and then I think we were directed to take them out.
It may be more than confusing, I just
But
wondered.
I can add it to this page that you're looking at on page 92 of your board packet would be a good place to put them, where what do water rates and sewer, what do they fund? I can probably add it in there. I'll be sure that it's in there. And if not, I can
All right.
I can put a footnote under the tables of the ready-to-serve charges too, if that's preferable,
I think
to
everyone
define.
knows what ready to serve
This is
implies,
still,
but
this
water
is still
commodity.
just direction, correct?
Correct, yeah, looking for consensus. So I can add that to it, and it'll come back again to
Yeah,
review.
And we'll see it before it goes in.
Correct.
I was going to suggest maybe on May 17th, we can come forward with a good mock-up, now that we've gotten direction. We could put it together so you'll see what it pretty much looks like, knowing that the numbers still may change a little bit, but the format will be outlined for you.
Well, when are we going to know when the numbers are not going to change?
That will
June
be,
2nd.
June 2nd.
I'm stealing your thunder again, but we hope to have a workshop at the end of May, sometime in May. And at that workshop, we'll bring forth a proposed budget for input. You should see the whole document and get it ahead of time, obviously, proposed document. From there, we'll take that input, any changes we need to make. On June 7th is the plan to come back with a recommended budget for you to take action on. So June 7th would be the date that this is it. Yeah.
But hopefully on May 24th, when we bring it forward at a workshop, we'll also have the Water Authority ready to serve charges in there.
Yeah, or at least we'll know if they're, if the difference is so small, we probably won't go through all
Right.
those reiterations.
Right.
But at least, hopefully we'll know.
But we'll know if it's
Yeah.
small enough to
Yep.
not bother to
Hopefully we'll know.
recalculate.
Yeah.
The only thing I would like to add is I want to thank the finance department, Michael, Wes, John, Tom, and the GM. I think the finance committee served a really great purpose. It's the first time I've gone through and really liked what I saw as far as the budget numbers. It's a far cry from what I saw last time, and that's great. And I think that's if we're looking at it a little bit deeper. So from my perspective as the committee chair, I want to thank everybody for a job well done in answering a lot of questions that were easily answered in the confines of a committee setting, not as easily answered in a setting like this. So thank you very much. Thank you for your understanding of the layman trying to understand CPA talk.
And thank you very much for those comments. The team has worked really hard on this, and I'm very hopeful that all that hard work is going to pay off as we go forward with budget approval and rate adoptions.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. We've got one request to speak from Mr. Hunsaker. And I got to apologize again. You had marked item 2.1. This is item 2.2, but if whatever you want to comment, go ahead.
Probably pretty much the same thing. Mike Hunsaker. I'd like to know what data establishes that charging by meter size is the most appropriate use. I also have a question as to, since we're not changing much on the rate structures for the larger meters, one of the issues was the subsidization of the very high-density mixed-use developments. From what I read, there was a proposal to, in mixed use, to combine the commercial and the residential rates all into one. Now, if you have a laundromat, that's a very big moneymaker for the landlord. It's also a heavy user of water. So what does this rate structure do to take care of the 60% increases for some and the subsidization of the larger users? Some of your documents show that the most water-wise and thrifty users of water, mobile home parks, are going to be hit hard. And what happens to a laundromat? It looks, I have no confidence that charging by meter size is any fair, given the data we have showing great disparities of use. Moreover, in case of drought or in case of the state declaring that we have to go to rationing, how do we fairly spread the burden of rationing across everyone? Right now, we punish the most efficient, and we punish the ones who have made the greatest sacrifice. And we leave big holes in massive, high-density developments. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, on to reports. 3.1, General Manager.
All right, just a couple. So the board's aware that we recently retained an audit firm to audit the district, and we'll be conducting what's called an entrance meeting, which is basically a preliminary meeting, and that will be done with the Finance Committee. The auditor will be here the week of June 12th through the 15th, so we'll be working with the Finance Committee and with the President and try to set up a date to meet with the auditors. Just kind of a long-term heads up on construction project, lift station number 1. It was actually approved, the contract was approved back on, I think it was April 5th. They're gonna start doing some lining of the wet well. So when we do that, there's gonna be some odors in there. We won't be able to have it covered the whole time. Construction will probably start within a month or so, but just a heads up, we'll do everything we can to control the odors out there. But that's obviously right along San Marcos Boulevard. We also talked about the backflow testing will be done, well, the backflow program will be overseen by a contractor, and the contractor will be on site, well, they'll actually be doing it virtually, but they'll be doing a training for the backflow testing companies, and that'll be in our training room on May 10th. So the contractor won't be here, but he'll be here virtually, teaching or training the testers. On same day, May 10th, in the parking lot, we're gonna have a blood drive. So just as a heads up, it'll be a busy day in the parking lot with the testers coming and the blood drive. And then Mr. Scaglione also already mentioned the May 24th workshop, full board workshop, which will kind of be the last check-in before we bring forward the budget and rates on June 7th. So that'll be, it's a Wednesday, it's a non-board meeting date, but it'll be a Wednesday at 5 o'clock if the board approves that date. So that's all I had.
Thank you. 3.2, District Legal Counsel.
Senate Bill 496, which was discussed at the last meeting and which was gutted and amended a couple of weeks ago to provide that engineers and architects, what we like to refer to as design professionals, have no duty to defend claims against public works projects, even the owners, even when in the cases where the design professionals are at fault.
So they don't, they're off the hook, basically. And, yeah, if you got a conflict, you can't. So, it literally requires the public agency to defend construction claims, even when they didn't, you know, they didn't cause the delays. It was really because their design professionals that they hired did. And we can't really do anything until afterwards. Unfortunately, the bill passed last week was just snuck through the assembly very quickly. You know, this was a bill that just started out, it was a gut and amend one day, and the next, literally, it went through the Senate, then through the House, or I should say the Assembly, and was signed by the governor on Friday. So, that's it. It's chaptered, it's enrolled, and it's the law now. So, we're, you know, many public agencies opposed it and sent letters, but to no avail. So I just wanted to give you that information.
Thank you.
Okay?
3.3, San Diego County Water Authority.
Oh dear, I have a whole bunch of stuff here. First of all, I went last week on calendar. I went last week to the San Diego Chamber's legislative luncheon, congressional luncheon, and Kevin Faulkner was there, and Jerry Sanders, and then we had Susan Davis, Daryl Isis, Scott Peters, and Juan Vargas. And they did take questions from the audience for the panel to talk about water never reached it. It seemed like a lot of the talk was about the wall and NAFTA and more on that sort of where is the president and the Congress going. But it was very interesting to see the two parties up there going forward as a delegate and trying to find where they felt they would connect and not connect. And I did have an opportunity to talk to all except for Susan Davis. So that was really very fun, and I went to that as a rep for the Water Authority. Then I thought this would, I won't go into the details and take the time for it, but on the Engineering Operating Committee, we just authorized the funding of a low-flow meter installation at Skinner Water Treatment Plant to reduce the minimum treated water delivery. And this is really critical because that was part of, during the drought when we got the water we didn't want. So it's going to run around $2.6 million, but what it will do is give us control. And at first they were going to put it down on the lower end, and now they've gotten permission with MWD to put it up at Skinner. So we have a lot more flexibility in reducing the amount of non-ordered treated water that we're getting. So that was very interesting. And then I know one of you went to the energy conference or something just recently, did you? Because I thought I heard it. Anyway, we also approved a request to look into energy storage facility study at San Vicente. And since they raised the dam, so we not only have more storage for emergency and carryover, we think we have a lower reservoir that can produce up to 500 megawatt energy storage facility. And what's interesting is you make more money if you can store energy than if you actually are producing the energy because of the imbalance with renewable energy. They were very concerned about if energy was a thing that we should get into, so this has gone through about 18 months to 2 years worth of all kinds of study, but there's a lot of evidence that yes, it would be productive. And I think we also told you we buy in now to get like 1.6 megawatts of electricity direct from Hoover Dam if we need it, and if they have water to produce it. So that was very interesting. I thought I'd hand out this. Jeff, you might know something about this. I didn't read the whole details, but the City of San Jose and the Superior Court on the definition of public records. He just brought it forward, Mark Haddam did, that we all need to really watch what we're doing because we're pretty well exposed. It left some opportunity for you as a private individual, but it sounds like they're wanting to say, in that case, pretty much hand over everything. But they're giving you voluntary discretion, I guess, is you voluntarily choose to research, right. But they're saying they're worried about how are we going to enforce it. Yeah, it's just another ridiculous thing, and
it's going to be a challenge as these things come forward.
It's really getting hard. Then you were asking in the earlier one, I wasn't going to say anything about this, but when we were talking about the rates coming up, They did have, we're not gonna do the rates until the end of May, as my understanding with the Water Authority. That's kind of when we're hoping to do it at that meeting. But they did put out a thing, and it was interesting. They projected the treated water costs and the projected untreated water costs in a scenario of if we lose the litigation and if we win the litigation. And I should probably have made a copy of this, but it was interesting. Like, for example, on the projected treated water costs, if we were to win, they're projecting, and I'm gonna go way out, in 2027, that the low rate would be about 1,700 per acre foot. If we lose, it would be 2,450. And on the untreated water, they were saying if we win, it would be about 1,360 an acre foot, and if we lose, we're close to 1,824. So they're very much aware how changing the rates and getting the cost of service nexus in there will change it. So the whole litigation is quite interesting right now, and there's a lot of talk. And then I thought I would give you the next, I'm sure you get this one, but it's the what's hot and the main issues that were up in legislation right now. And of course, the biggest thing is the long-term water use efficiency, and we did do a lot of discussion on 869 by Rubio and 968 by Rubio. The first one is to exclude the recycled water from any future water use reduction, and that's so important because at this point, they're challenging that if you have recycled water, you can't claim it as usable water even if you use it. And that's co-sponsored by the Water Authority. AB 1323 by Weber. And I should tell you, these have all passed the Assembly Appropriations Committee as of just the other day. Anyway, we'd sponsored a measure that would require them to make a stakeholder group and trying to determine what our efficiency levels and performances would be. And that passed. We're hoping it will continue because that's really critical to us. And AB 1654 was Advanced Water Communities Perspective, as you can read, planning within the context of the urban water management. And that one we're also co-sponsored. And then the Water Authority Board adopted and opposed, unless amended, on the measure regarding the new reporting obligations on agricultural water suppliers on the agricultural water management planning. And we did have Eric Larson get up and give a very strong presentation on why this is really very serious. And it doesn't really make sense when you listen to what's going on, how we said, you talk and you try to present your case with the governor and the Water Resource Board, kind of has their mind set on a lot of things. So I'll let you read through the rest of it. Also on the lead related, we have been opposing unless amended, and I think last time we mentioned, it's not that the Water Authority as a whole is opposing testing for lead. What they're trying to change is that, yes, someone tests for lead, and we're happy to do that, but we don't want it to be a requirement without any funding by anybody, and then landing once again upon everybody, and we become the enforcers. So the issue they're hoping is to appropriate some funding. So that's the gist of it. If you looked on page 4, the Little Hoover Commission, we thought we were out of the limelight. They had a meeting and they were actually discussing forest management, and somehow the board got them going on a series of questions regarding water agencies and special districts and fiscal management. And now they've set up a workshop on June 21st, 2nd, or 23rd, and they're going to have a roundtable discussing us, special districts in particular. So, just when it's like how they just perpetuate themselves. Anyway, there's a lot going on, and I think just thought there was one more thing, but I don't find it in my notes. I'm sorry for that. They're very busy. Oh, this last week was just a lot of things.
Dr. Mark?
Thank you very much. It's very interesting. And pardon my ignorance, because I don't know, but on page 1, for instance, Rubio the measure, okay, it was passed to the Assembly Appropriations on a 14-0 vote.
Okay, it passed through it, but it will have to now go through the next committee, which will be, they're pending a hearing in, this one passed through, not appropriation, is that what it said? Let's see. Passed on a 14-0. This was heard by the, let me think of it, Water Parks and Wildlife Committee. They passed it, now it goes to appropriation. So there's all these different committees the bill has to go through. In the process, you're either hoping to kill it or to change it. We have a very, very active community up there, and there's a lot of amendments going on. And I didn't talk about it, but their biggest worry is the trailer bills, which sort of just slipped through at the end with no discussion through any committees.
Was that like the recent gas tank?
Yeah, that one, and there is a couple on water, and the worst,
Trailer.
they call them trailer bills, they
Yeah,
tack
right,
them
they
on
don't
at
need
the
them,
end, and
yeah.
no committee sees them. So there was a little disappointment with some of the outcome on this, on a few of them, but overall,
Does it show anywhere where the water authority took a vote on it, or where they stand on it? I'm reading.
yeah, this is telling you right here. If you also, if you just go to the website, it'll tell you right here, it says, we have voted to support or oppose. We go through those at every meeting.
Okay, support or opposed.
But last time we had like 37, I can give you the packet. Yes, it's on there. Let me see, where's my list slowly. I don't have a concise, but just see, community outreach, capital improvement, here we go. So there were 13 bills, and we made a decision on all of them last time.
Yeah, and I think in the description here,
Huh?
in each description for each bill, it says what the water authority's position.
Right, and then we supported it, or we brought it forward and we now opposed it, or we supported it with an amendment. I was gonna say the best way to get them, I mean, I don't know if you want these 45 pages here, but you're welcome to find them online. And
No, I
look
just
up
thought-
under legislative conservation.
No, I just thought this was a great idea, that's all. I just added, for instance, on 1667 Freedman, that was kind of a split vote. I just wondered, at least on that committee.
Oh, you're talking about Freedman.
How the water.
The Water Authority adopted and opposed. If you look in the last sentence on that one, when this was before us, before their meeting, we voted opposed, and then the Water Authority, lobbyists and delegates up there preached against it. However, it passed the Assembly. Any of these where we got the 9-6 or the 10-5, I think there was a 9-4 or something, we feel like, okay, there's
Yeah.
still some room to move. And most of those, if you look, would probably oppose or oppose without, unless amended. I think there's 3 of those. Does that help?
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on, Encino Wastewater Authority. Anything to report?
We gave our general manager a 5% raise after an outstanding review of his year in office. And I was on a subcommittee that went through that, and actually the mean average was 6 and a little bit more. We only have given our staff a 5% raise, so we didn't think it was fair to give them more, so that's what was brought to the board and approved by everyone. There's a little concern there.
Excellent.
Yes.
Does the staff get a raise once a year?
No, it's again, I think there's an MOU that we go through.
What's 5% recommended, a dollar number?
For him, it was $12,000, I think. He's a $200,000 guy. Yeah,
It's about 10 grand?
yeah. But he's below the mean average of all the managers in the district, so we think we did the right thing.
And guys are doing a good job with it.
Oh, yeah, he's doing a great job there.
And I think neither the Capital or Policy Finance Committee met since our last board meeting, so nothing new to report on the committees. I don't think we had any standing committees since the last report.
Nope.
3.6, directors' reports on meetings, conferences, and seminars attended.
I attended the Boys and Girls Club auction. And so did Mr. Hernandez, and so did Mr. Sonella. And at our table, at least, water was a topic of conversation. And I was sitting, of course, in between R.D. Young and Rick Giddings. So I was like, oh, that's gonna be a topic of conversation right there.
How'd you get in between those two?
Yeah.
Got lucky.
They moved me. Lucky. Anyway, usually I stand in the back, you know. So I was very interested with water was talked about. The community, I'll tell you, it's the largest one ever, and they keep saying it every year, with 450 people.
Yeah.
Full. They did fantastic. I mean, it always surprises me, but they do it through smartness over the years of the city in collaboration, helping them as well in a lot of ways, as well as the water by doing water-wise things. They net more than the university's ball and Palomar College's ball, because they don't pay the money out. We have it at the gymnasium, you know, which the city is very gracious in letting us use. And then generally, they resurface the floor right after for the yearly resurfacing of the floor. But the kids were great, it was great. Everybody was there, and I just hope that next year more people will attend from the community, if they possibly can. So I think that's the only thing that I have done.
I didn't attend anything since the last board meeting.
Neither have I.
Did you go to the council meeting and hear Maureen speak?
Oh, yes, I did.
She mentioned it, and I had told her I would be there, and then we had company over say.
Sorry. Yeah, she gave a great presentation to the city council, and I just was there because I wanted to hear what it was about, because I was hoping it was about the bills that are going through there, that the water, State Water Resources Control Board is trying to push. And so she asked for their help in supporting the resolution that she'll send them. So it was a very good meeting, and I think she's coming to see us
Yeah.
next month.
On
Next week.
June 21st.
Yeah, it'll be worth, you'll enjoy it. Yeah.
And if I could just add to that, I've been coordinating with General Manager Stapleton, and she's provided me with the cost-cutting measures that the Water Authority has taken, and I'll package that up and send it to the board tomorrow, similar to what I had sent forward from EWA and what they had done.
Great.
By the way, I must say, I was very happy to see you was.
Yeah.
I think we've done, across the board, everything's about the same.
Yeah.
I just see if there's any differences with the water authority.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's pretty similar. Water Authority, Maureen actually gave me like a 5-year snap. I think it was actually from 2010, everything they've done over the years. So it's a little bit more comprehensive.
Okay, is that it for Director Evans? Did you have any seminars or anything?
No, just that I did that legislative thing, and that was it, nothing
All right.
else,
Thank you.
I believe.
4.1, quarterly board expenses are in the package for information. 5.1, director's comments, future agenda items. Director Murray.
Comment. Everyone will turn to page 9
Page 9, and, oh,
in
yeah.
San Marcos 360
Mhm.
and see the new rock star in San Marcos is there, complete with a picture that doesn't do him justice. I have a critical eye. But I think that's really nice that the city did that.
Yeah.
I also think it's great if you look at, one of the things that always annoyed me, and the city's now doing it, is right next to it, they really write about you and your family and all that, but they go, San Marcos streets to receive chip shit and slurry, letting people know what's going on out there. All they know is there's traffic. Rancho Santa Fe is torn up every day and has been. You must know, because
Yep.
could be one of the routes you take. but
It is.
A different route now. But I think letting people know what's going on, and when they're using this better, I think, as we are using our, between the pipes, and I love that name, and I'm glad we started. Oh, yeah.
I was wondering when we're going to receive the package on the locker room, so we can review that?
Look to, well, it'll be presented on the 17th. You're asking when you'll physically get a copy
Oh,
of it?
okay.
So we'll get it to you about, I don't know, a week
Week
before?
before.
Is that
Fine.
reasonable?
Very good.
I thought it was usually about 3 o'clock down.
Yeah. I try to do a better job on this
City
one.
trick.
Yeah.
No.
Director Evans, any comments, future agenda items?
No, I think we've accomplished a lot in the last few meetings in particular, and I feel very, very pleased with where we're headed and very grateful for staff and for the guidance that you're giving them, Gunn. And thank you for keeping us out of legal trouble, Jeff.
No, you're
Been
welcome.
doing a good job. So I just wanted to say thank you to everybody.
Okay, and I think that's it for our agenda, so we are adjourned.